Before I start, thank you, Tony. Thank you, Kara. Thank you, Eric. It's amazing. It's been a wonderful experience working with New Hampshire MEP. I can tell you, at least from my experience, they really care about New Hampshire manufacturers, and it shows. So thank you for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to try and impart some wisdom on everyone from what my experience is, which is helping manufacturers grow. And typically it's helping small manufacturers grow. Okay, as Joe said in the introduction, typically I work with manufacturers who have zero marketing budget. Okay, if they do, it's again no more than maybe $50,000, at most $100,000 a year marketing budget. So what I want to try and impart on you today is, in the little time that I have, I'm going to go a little bit rapid fire, which hopefully you like. Okay, because I want to give as much of my information as I can from my career to say, okay, how can we make sure that New Hampshire manufacturers are on the cutting edge of what's out there with technology and AI and everything that's happening today, okay, to make sure that you are leading the way when it comes to marketing and sales. Okay? And we have a little bit of Q&A at the end as well if you have questions for me. I want to just bring forth just one key point here, right? This is what the theme of this presentation is going to be all about, is that I'm going to read a quote here from McKinsey. Okay, McKinsey and Company, right? One of the strongest, largest, most credible consultants that are out there. They said, in today's AI-driven landscape, size no longer matters. Small businesses, small manufacturers can leverage the same advanced tools as global corporations, from chatbots to predictive analytics, to improve customer service and accelerate growth. The barriers have been removed, and now everyone has a chance to succeed. That's what I want to impart today, right? With the rise of AI and technology and automation, okay, you now really can compete with the Raytheons and General Electrics and the large manufacturers that are out there that typically have huge marketing teams. Okay, now all of a sudden, someone that doesn't even have a marketing team, they just have someone who's wearing a marketing hat, amongst other hats, can now actually compete. Okay, because this technology that's out there is either free or less than, anything I'm talking about today is less than $50 a month that we're talking about here. Okay, so there's a revolution that's going on, just like it is, I'm sure, in all aspects of your business. But I'm here talking just marketing and growth and sales. Okay, so there's really 4 topics that I want to rapid fire go through here. Okay, for everyone. First is, again, building a content library. At the end, talking about some tools to help you build that library with AI, if you don't know about them already, and it's not just ChatGPT. Okay, second is cutting edge website tools that everyone here should know about. Again, if we're talking how do we strengthen your marketing foundation, you're going to want to know about these tools. Okay, third is sales enablement, right? How can we be equipping your sales teams with what they need to compete and win, especially in today's virtual and more virtual sales environment than ever before? And then lastly, I'll touch on a few extra tools about artificial intelligence, marketing and sales related, that you should know about. Okay? And again, I'm going to go fast here. A lot of times in these types of presentations, someone says, my goodness, what was that again on that slide or this slide? I couldn't get it down. In case you do want to take notes, you can talk to New Hampshire MEP, right? They can certainly be providing you with this deck if you are interested. So why am I starting with content? Okay, we're supposed to talk about something sexy here about AI, right? Why are we starting with content? Bottom line is, from my experience over 20 years working with manufacturers, this is a key piece that many overlook. Okay, and all I can say is if you look at sort of the bottom right-hand corner of that orange piece here, right, on the slide, just think of it in a very basic way, right? Content is king, okay? And think of content as the bait at the end of your fishing rod. Okay, if you go fishing and you don't have good bait or you don't have any bait at all, you're never going to catch a fish. Okay, and I've tried to simplify this in a way where it resonates. Okay, if you don't have content and aren't developing content, don't market. It's not going to work. Okay, that's if there's any takeaway, and before we get to the sexy AI conversation, it's that. So I wanted to start there. Everything that I'm going to talk about next doesn't matter as much if you're not thinking about investing in content. There's a ton of stats on this slide that you can read that show that. Okay, in terms of actual revenue growth, earnings growth, etc. Okay, so content is king. You want to make sure that you have as great a bait at the end of your fishing rod as possible if you want to catch a fish, which is a prospect. and an eventual client. So where do you start with content? Okay, instead of just going right to, okay, yeah, Chris, you're going to talk about white papers and case studies, and we've heard it, okay, which we'll get to in a second. You first want to make sure that if you really want to create something that's great that people talk about, you've got to start with developing your own story, okay, from a content perspective. You've got to make sure that you are investing in your story. And your story shouldn't be about you as a company, as a manufacturer. It should actually be about your customer and solving their pain points, figuring out what their challenges are for you to help them overcome as the hero in their own story. Okay, so if there's a takeaway that you might not have heard before when it comes to content, it's not about you, it's about them. So I challenge everyone here who's a manufacturer who has a website, take a look at your website, and on the homepage of your website, are you talking about solving problems and challenges, or are you just talking about products and benefits and services? Okay, try and go there. Number two, you want to make sure that you clearly identify what your USP is, your unique selling proposition with content. How are you different? And is it solving, again, a pain point that your customer actually has, right? Because you could be different, but it doesn't matter if it's not solving a problem. And third, with your USP, you've got to make sure that it's solving a need that competitors aren't already meeting. Okay, so make sure with content you're thinking about your USP. And lastly, when we talk about big picture content, you want to be thinking about getting as many testimonials as possible. Because especially in younger generations today, they don't want to be sold. They want to do their own research. And they typically are 80% through their own buyer's journey with your brand before they ever talk to you as a salesperson. So what's better than making sure you're getting as many third-party testimonials as possible? Video testimonials are fantastic, right? I've just started a new company called Skayle 360. Already within 9 months of me in business, right, I'm going to have, within the end of the year, within the first year of business, 12 customer video testimonials. That's how important it is. I'm walking the walk, of course. Okay, people don't want to be sold. They want to do their own research and hear third-party validation from others. That's a piece of content. Okay, so now we've taken that step back. What is this content also going to be used for? You've got to be thinking of content in terms of your sales funnel. There's got to be what I call top of funnel content for attracting and engaging someone that doesn't know you. And that's typically what most of us think about. All right, Chris, I'll get that white paper that you talked about, right, to attract someone to my website. But don't stop there. You've got to make sure that, as you see right in the slide, nurture and close, you have to start thinking about content, bringing someone from the top of your pipeline all the way to close. You need content for that to happen if you want to maximize conversion. Don't just rely on, I'm a great talker as a salesperson, I can get it done. Younger generations want to absorb. They want to make sure that they have as much information as they can before they make their decision. Think of content bringing someone down your sales funnel. Okay, and lastly, right, content is about establishing authority, right? You as owners of your manufacturing firms want to make sure you come across as the established leader as to what you do in your space. Content, of course, can do that for you. Okay, and again, content today, don't just think of it as written content. Think of it as much as you can in terms of video as well, because people want to watch instead of read. Just how it is, and it's going to continue that way. So in terms of the types of content, I've talked about it, right? White papers, case studies, videos, blog posts. And you're going to say what? You're going to say, Chris, I know this, but I don't have time. Didn't you hear? I'm already wearing 4 hats. Maybe I have one person handling my marketing part-time. Don't have time for it. Okay? Well, just know now that with AI, you can't say that anymore. You can't say that anymore, which is so exciting, right? So everyone has heard of ChatGPT, right? Here's another tool called Jasper.ai that everyone should know about if you don't yet. Okay, we're literally, and I'm not exaggerating this, I do this in exercises with my training with businesses nowadays. I say, we have 20 minutes. I want you to write 10 blog posts within these 20 minutes. 10 blog posts in 20 minutes that you're actually going to be proud of. Okay? Maybe that's an exaggeration by 5 or 10 minutes, but you get the point. You can start building out your own content library at this point, okay? Without you being even that engineer where you're like, well, I don't know the technical. I'm going to have to talk to my engineer. They never have time. They don't see the value in this. It's never going to happen. You now, with the right prompting of Jasper AI, can actually be writing any piece of content that you want very quickly. I have all of the content that I have for my business for the next 6 months already written. And now there's a human element to this. Don't get me wrong. We're not just going to just offload it to AI and think it's perfect. There's a lot to it. Trust me. There's a lot of human back and forth with AI. But my big picture point is you now have tools that are out there that can help you compete with larger gorillas that are out there, right, with a very small marketing team or zero marketing team. This is a cool tool that you should know about, right, called Spin Rewriter AI. So just to make a point, literally you can take those 10 blog posts that we just talked about or those 10 white papers and create 1,000 more within just putting this through this AI, where it's all going to be a little bit unique and different from that one piece of content. That's what's out there today. Okay, it's mind-blowing. Okay, and I've used all of these tools that I'm talking about, so it's not like, oh yeah, but he's in the clouds and ultimately it really doesn't work very well. Sure, there's a human element to this, like I've said. Okay, but you now have tools, and these tools that I'm talking about right now are no more than $20 a month. That's why I said it's democratized marketing and sales to the little guy, like me at least, right? Like some of us. So that's content. Let's start there. Okay, don't do anything else until you have a game plan for content, okay, to grow. Now let's talk about some other tools, right? We're not going to talk about website today. I have limited amount of time with everyone. So I thought it would be useful to then talk about some tools that you should know about for your website. You've probably already heard of, some of you might have, right, of Google Analytics. This is nothing new. It's called now GA4, but most manufacturers that I work with, right, as Joe said, I've worked with, I think about 100 manufacturers at this point over the years. Most either don't know about Google Analytics, or if they do, I then say, great, can I see a report of the traffic on your website? And they don't have it. So basic of basics right now with website tools, you should know about GA4, Google Analytics. It's free. It's a snippet of code that you put on your website, and you'll now be able to see all of the traffic coming to your website. You'll know the number of visitors on a weekly or monthly basis. You'll know where those visitors are coming from. You'll know if there are marketing campaigns that you're deploying, what marketing campaigns are actually driving the traffic, so you can see whether you should keep investing in those sources. Okay, so that's Google Analytics in terms of a tool. You might say to me, though, okay, great, yeah, I've used Google Analytics, but I want to know the actual company. You can't tell me the company that's on my website. I'm a salesperson. I need to know the company name and even maybe the person's name and their title. Google Analytics doesn't give me that. All it gives me is where the traffic is coming from, and you can put tags on your campaigns to see how well the campaigns are running. Well, there's now tools out there, and they've become commoditized. These are as cheap as $30 a month at this point. This is one called Visual Visitor. There's another called Lead Lander, and there's 10 more right after that, where literally you can, as a salesperson, now be in heaven, because you can say, I can run a report every week and be able to actually see, not every time, I want to be very clear, about 40-50% of the time it's able to capture the company name, okay, and oftentimes the individual name from that company. And that's huge from a sales perspective, because I can say, my God, I was working that person 3 months ago. There's some interest again. They're back on the site. And you can then decide what you want to do from there, of course, right? How big brother-like you want to be. Because they might get freaked out and say, how did you know this? Okay, but you need to know at least that there are tools out there that enable you to be able to do this on your website. Another one that's very cool, okay, called Crazy Egg. Crazy Egg, right, is a heat mapping tool that will enable you, right, we're talking marketing right now, like wonky marketing right now, right, but it's a tool that you can use that you can see with a heat map, literally like red, yellow, green, orange. You can see where people's eyes are on your website and where they drop off. So then you can start making smart, informed decisions to say, look at this. I'm looking at this report and it seems like they drop off on this page, this part of the page. We need to strengthen this section of our website. Okay, a very cool tool that's typically underutilized in the manufacturing community. Okay, crazy egg. Everyone's heard of SEO before, I'm sure. Search engine optimization. SEO is where you try and rank on the first page of Google, okay, where you don't have to pay Google. Google makes their billions of dollars on what's called paid search. Those top 4 rankings, that's paid. That's how Google makes their billions. Everything under that is called organic search, SEO. You get there for free, but you have to be extremely relevant to get to that first page. It's extremely difficult to get to the first page. You might not have any idea how to even do it. And you say, Chris, if I'm going to have to hire an SEO firm, right, that specializes in this for a few $1,000s a month. You don't. Okay, now with tools that are out there, one tool is called Yoast. With Yoast, okay, and I don't want to get, again, too in the weeds here, but with Yoast, just know it's a plug-in to your website where you're then going to be able to, what's called on-page optimize your website so that your, what's called your title tag for search engine spiders, right, your meta tag and your meta descriptions all now can be written with keywords that you want to rank on that first page of Google. You now, with Yoast, can do a readability analysis of your website and be able to see what is it from a scale of 1 to 10? Where am I failing? What do I need to do? And you can also then write those meta tags, title tags, meta descriptions using this tool. You don't have to rely on anyone else anymore. You just have to spend 30 minutes understanding the tool a little bit. It's remarkable what it can do for small businesses. You also have a tool out there called SEMrush, or some people call it SEMrush. I've got a question for everyone. Do you know, right, from the traffic that's going to your website, okay, do you know from what keywords, right, that you're trying to rank for, okay, where you're ranked with those keywords for that traffic? Do you know how many keywords you have where you're ranking on the first page of Google, the second page of Google? Probably not. With SEMrush, that's a report that you can use where you can see actually the number of keywords and the keyword names, the phrases, that are actually driving that traffic to your website. Say, oh, look at this. I have 5 keywords where I'm actually ranked on the first page. I'm ranked number 6. How can I get to number 4? I have 15 keywords I didn't realize I'm on the 3rd page of Google for. Now you can start developing a strategy to go from page 3 to page 1 because, just so you know, 90% of traffic never gets past the first page of Google. So you got to get on that first page. Okay, so just know that with SEMrush, you can have a report now that you can be looking at on a monthly or quarterly basis to know, okay, how many keywords do I have that's actually driving the traffic to my website? And you can then develop a strategy around getting more of those first pagers. And it also can provide you with competitive analysis. So you can say, you know what, I have these 3 big time competitors. I want to know what keywords they're using to drive their traffic and what's called backlinks to their website. Where are they coming from? I'm going to then make sure that I know that so I can get those myself. So it's a ton of insider information you can get on your competitors with this type of tool. Okay? Another tool that's huge, and with AI, it's exploding. Okay, again, and I'm going to go even one layer further in just another slide, but just know that you have now the ability to have a chatbot on your website, okay, with the help of AI, okay, where ultimately any question someone has about your business with chatbots now, you've probably seen them on some sites. If you go to my website, you'll see a little chatbot. Okay, where ultimately it can answer, as long as you train it properly with AI, it will answer any question a visitor has on your website. In your voice. Okay, in your tone. Okay, so just know that's here. And if there's a beneficiary of AI right now, you could argue it's in marketing and it's in chatbot development and marketing today. Okay? And you can, by the way, start crafting chatbot scripts with ChatGPT. Right, so here's a few, right? Develop a chatbot script for handling common customer queries about my product or service. Write a friendly and informative response for a chatbot when a product is out of stock. You can start training that chatbot. Okay? There's companies that are out there. I get paid nothing for recommending any type of companies. It's just I've used the product. Drift is one. Drift has, again, they've coined the term conversational AI. Okay, where ultimately if you said, oh, I don't want to train this myself, let me just find a company that can do this for me. You can take a look at Drift as an example. There are free versions of chatbots that are out there, or you can have paid versions. You can have chatbots on specific pages of your website with specific products. It's mind-blowing what can be done now to make your websites as interactive as possible. And then lastly, right before we get to the next section, you should know that you now, through ChatGPT, you can now create your own custom GPT. And a custom GPT is, think of it as a chatbot, but on steroids, really just for your business at this point. Okay, so I'll give an example of myself. Okay, so it's not the cobbler has no shoes. Right, so I've written a book called Scale Up. It's a 300-page business book about scaling up. I'm now training, my own chatbot. I've named him Dale, right, where if you go on the Scale Up portion of the website, it's not there yet, but I'm training it because I'm feeding it all of the content from the book, and I'm doing everything I can with any question any of you would ever ask. And now someone can go eventually to the website and ask any question that's marketing related that's in that book, and it will give you an answer. Think of what you can do with your own products, with your own offerings, with creating your own custom GPT. In addition to just like the wow factor of, I can't believe they're on this cutting edge of what they're doing with their website. And a custom GPT is free. Okay, it's out there right now. Okay, so here, these are just some tools again. Just like I said, my goal right now, how can I try and make sure everyone is on the cutting edge of what's going on right now? That's website. So now let's talk about sales enablement. Okay, sales enablement, there's a quick definition, lower orange box here, so we're all on the same page, right? It's the process of providing your sales team with the resources they need to close more deals, right? These could include content, tools, knowledge, virtual platforms. The list goes on and on. The key is, how can you start bringing a gun to a gunfight for your sales team? Because oftentimes they're not bringing a gun. They're bringing maybe a knife. Okay, so I want to make sure that you know that there are tools that are out there where they can start bringing a gun to a gunfight. Okay, in this like ultra competitive sales environment that we're all in. Okay, as you can see here with some of these stats that I provided, right, that we're going online. Ever since COVID, right, virtual selling, right, so it's not in person at a trade show shaking hands and we've got our briefcase, right, that's the old way of selling. It's still there, of course, and it's going to continue. Okay, but just know that more and more sales is being facilitated online and digitally. We at least have to be thinking about that and think about what can I do to make sure that I'm competing and winning online in this sales environment. Because again, those younger generations, okay, they don't want to go to that trade show as much as I do. They want to say, why am I going to take all my time out and do this when I can be just doing this virtually or on Zoom? So again, they're not going away. I'm not being an alarmist in any way, but we've got to make sure we have tools at our disposal and platforms, right, so that we can meet that type of buyer online. One very cool platform that I've used is called Client Point. Again, I get paid nothing for talking about any of these. Right? With Client Point, just know, and this is difficult to explain right now, you're going to have to experience it to really get it, right? If I had time, I'd show you a video on it, right? But ultimately with Client Point, you can be setting up your own virtual environment with your own brand, where let's just pretend for a minute, I'm looking at Eric Basta there. Eric, you're a prospect, right? You say, okay, Chris, I want to learn a little bit more about what you do, what you sell. All right, Eric, typically what would I do? I'd send him a Zoom link and we'd talk over Zoom, and then I from there would email him a proposal afterwards and maybe some follow-up materials in an email. That's how it works, right? But I could say, hey, you know what, Eric, I'm going to meet you on my Client Point. What's that? You'll see. I'm going to give you a link to my virtual platform, and I know I'm going to have a meeting with Eric in a few days, and I know what he's all about, okay, in terms of what he's looking for. I can build my own custom library of everything that I think Eric would want to know about my company. Testimonials, case studies specific to his industry. It's all there in this virtual environment. Okay, and I can then walk through that with him while we're talking like a Zoom. And then when I say, okay, Eric, I'm now going to do a proposal for you. You just have to click on the link, Eric. You can then find that proposal within that same platform. I'll know when he's reading the proposal. I'll know how long he's taken with the proposal. I'll know everything humanly possible about what he's doing in that environment. It's huge, okay? And it's fully branded for Eric and for New Hampshire MEP. Okay, so that's an example of Client Point as to what you can be doing. Even agreements can be signed, through Client Point. Another tool everyone should know. It's not even a tool, really. This is an offering. You've probably maybe heard of this one. It's called ZoomInfo. They're publicly traded at this point, and they have an AI component to what they do now. But the old days of a salesperson saying, okay, I've got my Rolodex, I've got my 20 phone calls for the day, and we'll see what happens, and I'll go to that event and see if I can meet some people. Of course, that's still there, but know that the new way of selling is to be working through these type of platforms where you can be curating and building your list through ZoomInfo. You can be doing email outreach in an automated fashion through ZoomInfo. You could be doing LinkedIn outreach, okay, through ZoomInfo, and you can be doing cold calling through ZoomInfo. Everything for a salesperson's heart that they can desire to try and find business in very niche industries that most of you are in, you can be doing with something like ZoomInfo. Now, with ZoomInfo, you're going to say, if you know about it, you'll say, yeah, but Chris, you said it's like, I thought it was supposed to be $100 or less a month that you're recommending. This isn't. I want to be clear. We're talking a couple $1,000s a month, but I wanted to put this in here because a lot of small manufacturers don't know about it. You might say, sorry, out of my ballpark. There's other platforms. So there's another platform out there called Apollo.io, also using AI at this point. That's $99 a month. Now, the quality of the data I've used both. I have clients that have used both, and I've read a lot about both. Okay, the quality of the data isn't going to be as strong. I want to be clear. ZoomInfo is the Cadillac, but it's a lot of money, right? Whereas you can have, again, everything I just talked about on that prior slide, you can also do through Apollo.io. My point here is there are platforms that are out there that you can be using for your sales team, right? Where you can have multi-touch point campaigns called omni-channel campaigns happening all within this environment. Okay, and you as the CEO can be looking at a report every week to say what happened this week for activity. That's Apollo.io. I talked about video when we talked content, right, in the content development phase, section, right, when I said don't forget about video. Video is where it's at. It's going to continue to be there. We're not going back to just boring content, right? Just know that a really cool tool that you should know about, even for just prospecting, is a tool called Vidyard. And there are more than just Vidyard that are out there, trust me, okay? There's one that I use also called Loom, L-O-O-M, you can look at, okay? Imagine being able to have your sales team send emails, okay, in an automated fashion using a video where there's a thumbnail of them where with Eric, I'm going to say, hey, Eric, I could even, if I want to get fancy, have like a board saying Eric's name and wave, okay? That's the thumbnail within the email. So you can start sending video from a prospecting perspective using platforms like Vidyard. You can embed them on your website and track everything. It's the next level. Okay, so super cool what you can be doing with video these days also. We're talking sales enablement, right? So I can't not talk about Calendly. Some of you might have heard of Calendly, right? So I'll say this very quickly, but remember, sales enablement, you want to make sure that your salesperson is not saying, oh, well, when can we meet? Give me some times. And then they go back and forth 5 times with their prospect until finally they hammer out a time for a 30-minute conversation. You can have a Calendly link where you can say, okay, great, here's my link. Find a time on my calendar. You can find it right here, right on my calendar. Okay, so super easy for salespeople, right, to now start booking meetings. And also you can brand this calendar on your website, which is very cool. You can drive them to a website in your branded environment to book a meeting. Okay, that's Calendly. Lastly, you now have that meeting. Okay, now all of a sudden, salesperson's writing down notes as much as they can. They've got to be focusing, though, on the prospect, right? There's tools that are out there now. One is called Otter.ai, right? There are many others. Fathom is another. Fireflies is another. It's commoditized at this point because of AI. But now, a salesperson doesn't even have to think about writing down notes if they don't want to. They can completely focus on closing a deal. because as long as you have Otter on, you click on record, it will like completely transcribe the entire meeting with notes and summarize those notes for you that you can have afterwards and also send to your prospect. Very, very cool tool that's out there right now called otter.ai. Okay, last few slides here, right? Last section here. I've talked a little bit here about AI throughout all those three sections. Okay, just know though, a few more cool tools. Before we get to the tools, just know that you probably do, but I'll say it again. There's a mega cap tech war going on right now, right? That's mind blowing, right? So you have all the big players, right? Completely like competing with one another right now, with AI. So you've all heard of ChatGPT for Omni. That's OpenAI, which is now owned by, not fully, but partially owned and invested in by Microsoft. Okay. You've got, Anthropic, Claude. Okay. 3.5 Sonnet is their latest tool. That's highly backed by Amazon. You've got Gemini Ultra, which is Google. Okay. You've got Meta AI, and you now have XAI. Okay, that's coming out, where Musk just literally raised $6 billion for this. Know that there's an absolute arms war that's going on right now, and it's mind-blowing, and marketing and sales, like, completely is benefiting from this. Okay, and you're benefiting, frankly, because ultimately, you then don't have to be relying on that high-priced marketing agency with all of these tools that are being developed. You can actually be doing this in-house without some, like, crazy experienced marketer with 30 years of experience. You just need to know how to be using the tools. Okay, so here's a few tools before I stop and take any questions, right? A few extra tools. PowerPoint. Right now, I used to rack my brains out, right, with PowerPoint. This type of deck for today, right? This is partially built by Beautiful AI. Beautiful AI can now be, in a very effortless, seamless way, be building out PowerPoint presentations for your sales teams. Okay, where it has every different slide, like, layout that you can imagine, and you can basically plug and play with your own brand. Okay, it's remarkable what it can do. Okay, so you should be thinking about Beautiful AI. You could also say, I don't have the money for a full design team, right? And I don't know, that agency is going to try and charge me $5,000 a month for some design. Is there a better way? Yeah, you have Canva, which now has a huge AI component to it, if you've heard of Canva before. But there's now other platforms that are now percolating. One is called Superside, which is, again, sort of AI-driven, where you now can have your own design team of designers throughout the world at a certain price point of $500 a month, where you can be building out any type of design for your manufacturing firm with Superside. Okay, that's out there today. And that's only going to continue to explode. Okay? Back to the salesperson. Well, we're continuing, I guess, on that salesperson a little bit. Casper, K-A-S-P-R. With Casper now, right, if we're talking about finding leads, and you say, Chris, we're not going to use ZoomInfo, where I know we can curate a list of 10,000 names. It's really expensive. What can I do for my individual SDR, sales representative, right? Sales development representative. Okay, well, you know what? There's tools out there now through AI, like Casper, where literally now you can be going onto a LinkedIn page and you can be saying, okay, I want every salesperson at Raytheon in this region with this title in sales that I want to reach out to. And I want to capture their phone numbers and email addresses and anything else I can capture. With Casper, you can now do that. Very, very cool tool that allows you now to save a lot of time of trying to figure out who your target audience is. Okay, we're now talking B2B Rocket. There are now AI agents, that's what they're called, AI agents that are out there with this company. I've used this. Okay, and it has driven results. Okay, remember I talked about you can be setting up automated emails, for example. There's still a human element to that, of setting up automated emails, frankly. With B2B Rocket, you literally are training your agents on your audience. You're writing the copy with your AI agent. There's no human interaction. This is why it's inexpensive. And you can then be deploying these AI agents with video, right, to be mass marketing your brand. Now, know that you can get even more refined with that. I don't want to even just use the word mass. If you said, yeah, Chris, I only have like 150 targets, really, you can do that. Okay, but the point is you can completely personalize all of the messaging. There's an algorithm with AI where it's going to continue to optimize message A versus message B until you arrive on like the optimal message, and it's all done through these AI agents. There's never a human actually doing anything, frankly. Okay, and that actually is a way that you can be building awareness within, of course, the industries that you're trying to target. And what would typically cost $5,000 a month is now costing, it still costs money, or a couple $1,000s a month, but for the amount of outreach, it's pretty mind-blowing. You might say, okay, is there ever going to be a day where we actually don't even need to work with a coder and developer to build a website that typically costs $25,000 if you want some big-time website to build? It's just how it is. It used to be $100,000. It's come down. There's now, Divi is just one. There's now AI that's out there. And trust me, watch what's going to happen in the next 3 years, where you'll eventually be able to build your own websites using AI without having any coding experience whatsoever. Okay, and so what used to cost, like I just said, tens of thousands of dollars, if you really are on the cutting edge of AI as to what you can do with tools, right? You can ultimately be able to plug and play with content and design and build your own website without any coding experience. You don't have to rely on anybody. That's coming. It's already here, frankly. I wouldn't do it right now. I still think it's a little young. Okay, Divi is just one theme this is taking place within WordPress. But eventually, give it a few years, and you'll be able to be building your own websites with AI. Okay, so that's it. That is, I don't know how I did on time, Eric. Was that timing-wise decent? So with that, again, I really thank everyone that's come here. I hope that I imparted some energy here into what you can be doing to grow. And I'll open it up here if we have time, Eric. Do we have any time for questions? So go right ahead.
With all the AI. So copyright issues with all this content being developed, any concern there or?
From a copyright, so if you're the one that's dictating to AI, because you're the one prompting, right? So the way that AI works is you're going to be setting the prompts, right? And ultimately then, as long as you have your own human interaction with that AI, if you do have a concern about copyright, then you're going to be prompting again saying, are there any copyright issues with this to ChatGPT, for example? That being said, as long as you're the one that's in control of the wheel, you're going to be able to see, is there an issue with potentially a copyright? What you should be more concerned with, in my opinion, is that, does this sound like AI? Does this sound like a robot?
Yep.
Right? And so just know that there are now, because there are tools out there, if you go to Zero GPT actually is a plagiarizing tool where you can see if something has actually just been written by ChatGPT, right? So you have to then be educated enough to know ultimately, does this sound like a human or does it sound like a robot? So there are words like delve. If you ever see the word delve, let's delve into this, that's ChatGPT. Right? If there's a summary of what you just said at the end for the final paragraph, and it summarizes what you just said again, that's AI, frankly. So once you start learning AI enough, you'll realize what you need to do to continue to massage all of the copy, frankly. Okay? The copyright issue, it's a great point, right? That's where, I don't know if you've seen the lawsuit with the New York Times. Maybe that's why this is brought up. Just know that it's not me, the little guy, that's going to be sued if there's a copyright issue. It's going to be OpenAI is being sued by the New York Times right now saying, wait a minute, with what you're putting in your large language model, ultimately, you didn't get permission from us to be using this. We have writers that we pay. And you're completely like bastardizing all of our great content that we paid a lot of money for. So The copyright issues, frankly, are absolutely going to happen. It already is, but it's going to be at that, mega cap tech level and New York Times level more than the little guy, frankly. Yes. I'll get to everyone. Go right ahead, sir.
Okay. I've tried to do a private GPT.
Custom GPT.
The first layer of research into that gives me a whole bunch of technology well beyond my capability to implement it. It doesn't seem to be, conceptually I could see, okay, I'm going to put my content into a GPT and I'm going to use it. I'm trying to replace the knowledge of a retiring employee.
Yeah.
So I'm downloading his information,
Yeah.
I'm saying I'm going to put it in, and then I say, well, I'm going to set up a private GPT, and as soon as I search for doing that, I get all this information and all the software I need to use to do that, and it's like, I don't understand this, so how do I get past that
Yeah,
original
so
hump?
that's interesting. Maybe we can talk offline because with what ChatGPT and OpenAI have built, it literally is very easy to be loading. You shouldn't have to go anywhere else other than within ChatGPT, frankly.
Yeah, well, I've done that in chat, and the problem is, if I ask a question about my technology, it doesn't limit its response to the information I've put in, but it starts grabbing stuff from
Right,
chat
exactly,
and puts
yes.
it in, and then it's all wrong.
And that's a great point. And that's why you have to continuously prompt, and you just have to think of this as your assistant and say, no, this is wrong. You didn't get this, and this from what I just said. Don't use this again. So that's why I said there's a lot of human interaction here where it's not as simple at all as, okay, like my example, I just uploaded the Scale Up book. We're good. Like I said, it's taking me months to get it to where like I'm completely anal, where I'm asking question after question and letting them know no with my prompts. Only use what I'm telling you here. Don't bring anything else in. It's just the right prompts that eventually will get you there. But it's not there yet fully. But again, give it just a couple years and it's going to be like an entirely new level, frankly. But yeah, it's fully normal what's happening with you right now. Yes.
A lot of these are cloud-based.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these are cloud-based. How do they stack up against cybersecurity, specifically CMMC?
Yeah, I don't know that answer. I'm more of a marketer, so I don't want to go above my pay grade with that, frankly. So I hate to say something that's wrong. All I can say is I do know enough about cybersecurity, right, with Palo Alto Networks and CrowdStrike and others where they are working hand in hand, right, with AI at this point. I mean, if you look at even their stock prices have gone through the roof because there is that cybersecurity component, right, that's needed in the cloud at this point. But in terms of me speaking beyond that, again, I'm a marketer. I'm not going to be able to answer that, unfortunately.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes.
Hi, thank you very much for that information. A lot
Sure.
of good stuff there. So I've had a chance to use Apollo.
Yeah.
And one of the questions I have is how do you work on improving your emails being delivered? I feel like I've heard a lot of things of certain things in your signature, certain things in the messaging
Yeah.
you don't want to include because it's just a higher chance of it being blocked.
Yes.
So any insight on that?
Yeah, a lot of insight there, so I don't want to bore people, but a few things. Number one, how many subdomains do you have? Do you have a lot? Are you working off of one domain or how many subdomains?
So I initially had one, but as of this week, now there's like 5 that we just put in.
Still not enough.
Okay.
You know how many I have? 100. Okay, my point is, I'm glad you asked the question. You've got to make sure that you have a subdomain, by the way, is if we say scale360.com, that's my main domain, right? Website domain. A subdomain is scale360team.com, scale360usa.com. Those are 2 different subdomains. You need to make sure that you're guarding your domain because you do not want this to come back as spammy where you have major issues. Don't ever use your domain for outbound email, right? And you have to then make sure that you're not doing, here's a best practice. You don't want to, at this point, to be sending more than 20 emails a day per domain, per subdomain. Okay? So that means if you really want to have mass outreach that's taking place, you need a lot of subdomains or else you're not going to see results. Right? Outreach the way you're doing it through Apollo, it's a game of like numbers. And so if there's just 5 that you're talking about, it's not going to move the needle much. Just like if anyone's ever spending, oh, I'm doing LinkedIn sponsored posts. How much are you spending? I'm spending $100 a month. Don't ever do that again. You're never going to get anything for that. It's either you go big or you go home. It's the same concept there. So that's number 2. Number 3, make sure that you don't have any attachments in any of your first, like, how many emails are you sending? 6 or 7?
We were at like 4.
4. Okay. So at the 4th email, that's when you can finally have an attachment. Don't send an attachment before that whatsoever. Right? There should be nothing in the subject line that's spammy whatsoever. Like buy now or sale or any exclamation point. Nothing. No links. And it should also be, I don't know how long your emails are, you should truncate your emails down to like 6 sentences. So anyways, those are just some quick, does that help? Or you can talk to me afterwards also. We can talk further about it. Yeah. Yes.
Are you willing to share your deck?
Oh yeah, I had said it earlier on. So just talk to New Hampshire MEP and they'll certainly be able to provide that. Yeah, I went quickly, right, for the tools, but I wanted to sort of rapid fire, just sort of let you know what's out there. So yes, absolutely.
Hi, sorry. I don't have a huge question, but I do really quick want to say I use a ton of these things that you're talking about. But somebody just talked real quick about putting like technological questions in there, and like my heart started jumping out of my chest
Right.
to not put proprietary information in.
Well, so that's
any of
interesting.
those
Yeah, that's a
things.
great point. Yes, so in terms of technological, but
Right.
it's coming though where you're going to be, trust me, OpenAI and ChatGPT know this, and they are working on right now where you, as long as you pay for it, you're going to be able to have your own proprietary data. That's coming.
Paying for it,
You-
but be careful because I just had an IT company and a lot of their code just got taken by
Ex-
competitors by putting private.
That's exactly
Things
right.
out
Yep,
there. So, yeah,
that's exactly
awesome.
right. But it's coming in probably about 6 months. But until then, great point. Anyone else? Yes.
How can you be confident that the AI isn't making stuff up? Like you're really confident that what you're sending out is what you want to say?
Say that again.
Because I know in public ChatGPT it makes stuff up that's not true.
Uh-huh.
So how do you make sure that's not happening in your
Well, that's
domain?
where, again, yeah, great question. So that's where, again, with your human interaction with the GPT, right, with AI, you have to be a thought leader yourself in your space to know that that isn't right. So great point. I'll give an example. But that just means there's more prompts that have to take place. So I'll give a quick example as an answer. In a class that I teach, right, on this, we talk about, okay, now we're going to come up with a marketing strategy for manufacturers in New Hampshire. They have a $50,000 marketing budget for the year. Okay, ChatGPT, tell us what we need to do. It's never going to get it right. Never going to get it right now on the first try. You have to then feed it more and more and more and more information until finally it does get it right. So probably by the 6th or 7th prompt, it can get there, and it will get there, frankly. It's just, yeah, it's not going to happen at first, and that's up to us then to be sort of thought leaders in our space to know that it is wrong. So if someone's just riffing and saying, all right, send me these 5 blog posts and they don't have any clue, then yeah, I would never say use AI. Only use it if you know what you're looking to do and it's just saving you a lot of time. Hopefully that helps. Yeah. Great. Yes. Yes. Any other questions? I didn't see any others. But one more if you. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Take care.